native Texan. She was born in Lubbock to an agricultural family and lived throughout the Panhandle and West Texas. She attended Austin College. She majored in English and put herself through college working multiple jobs and as an intern in the school's financial aid office. This experience in institutional enrollment created the opportunity to work as an admission counselor for her alma mater. Lela spent 2 years helping families across Texas and the Southwest make their best possible decisions concerning higher education and sharing with them how they might best finance their degree. It was during this time she met her husband Greg, and I have met Henry, who was adorable, 15 months old. One of your greatest accomplishments.
Yeah.
They moved to Dallas, where she began to work at a luxury retailer and pursued her master's degree in dispute resolution from SMU. The growth and education experience in the executive office of her employer taught her much about what it takes to bring together people with different ideas and abilities to help build a team that can achieve their goals. One of the things that's really struck me that during this time, and as she's working to get her master's degree, they had news that her husband's grandmother had a stroke. They since moved down there to be full-time caretakers, and she continued to come back up here to finish her degree. So this is just, to me, one example of character and commitment. Through this time, she became very active in politics in Hays County, attending all of the 2008 Republican conventions, culminating in the rare experience at the Republican National Convention in Minneapolis, Minnesota. All of this and her observations over the years of where our country has been headed I think you're going to see, led her to where she is today and what she is going to speak to you on today. She is running for U.S. Senate, and she will be back there. There's some information on the table back there in regards to that. But what I see in just speaking with this young woman is wisdom beyond her years, a passion for her family and for God and for this nation and for the state of Texas. And what has really struck me is she is fearless in allowing God to lead her life. And that speaks volumes to me. So without any more of me talking, let's let Lela come up here and share.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me okay? All right. Thank you very much for coming today. This was planned for months, and we had to reschedule because of various changes in the election and debates. I mean, I know you can't believe it, but I think liberals have been at work in this state. So we finally got today nailed down. I appreciate all of you coming. Leslie asked me if I would speak on how we reach the next generation. I know everyone in this room is very concerned about these young people, so I did a lot of reading. The Lord woke me up at 3 in the morning the other day and said, this is what you need to say. So I typed as fast as I could hear Him speak. So this is what we're going to have. This is a handout that'll help you get through. Normally we would hold questions to the very end, but I know that with how much we're going to cover, it's easy to forget your question. So if you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand, and try not to make it a statement or a paragraph, but a quick pointed question, and we'll get it answered. And if you need something in more detail or length, then we'll do that at the end. Sound like a fair deal? Okay, am I talking too fast? I can, believe it. Okay, so talking about the next generation, this group is what they call the millennials. These are young people who are ages 18 to 34 right now. I'm in the group that they kind of put either way. I'm 32, so sometimes they say I'm Gen X, sometimes they say I'm Gen Y. I just say they can't figure it out. They don't know me at all. This group rivals the baby boomers both in size and diversity. 80 million of these young people. They are a very powerful force in this country right now. They are the most connected. They are the most vocal generation we've probably ever had, and technology has given them the freedom to be that way. They're the most diverse. Now, that's really important. 39%, so almost 40% of this generation identifies themselves as non-white. So either Latino, African American, Asian American. That is the first time in history we've had that. So this is a very different group, and many of them are not just a single race, but they come from mixed race families. So this is a group like no other, so we're going to have to treat them a little different to engage them. The vast majority of these young people are not in college. It is estimated that only 25% of those who are 18 to 24 are in a 4-year college program. And as many of you know, because it's so expensive, many of them aren't taking 4 years to do it. It's taking them 5 and 6 years to complete a 4-year bachelor's program. So again, a very different situation from perhaps your generation or your parents' generation. In 2008, 51% of this group voted. That's a lot. But who did they vote for? Okay. While Obama engaged them and put them to work, the GOP did not spend the time or the money. The McCain campaign opened a total of 400 offices nationwide. The Obama campaign opened 700 offices in battleground states alone. And they were willing to put the kids out front, put them to work, let them lead the way, let them be in charge of the offices, let them do the recruiting, let them travel. They really engaged them. He spent millions on this generation. We are not. The McCain campaign contacted 13% of this generation. Obama contacted 25%. That's how committed they are to getting this next generation. They are all in for these young people. By 2015, this generation is going to make up 1/3 of the electorate. 45% of those under 30 call themselves Democrats. Okay? 26% call themselves Republican. That still leaves a big chunk who call themselves independent, libertarian, or other affiliations. But in this primary season right now, so far, only 5% of them have voted. 5% have engaged in the primaries. That's a very, very low number. Their fire is not really lit for any of these candidates right now. For this generation, if you look at the numbers, the data, the statistics tell us that the two candidates that are a tie for them in the Republican Party are Ron Paul and Mitt Romney, because neither one speaks really on social issues. Both of them talk about freedom and jobs, the two things most important to this generation. Social issues are way down the list right now. If you will look, you'll see that, I think maybe I put it on the back page. Hang on, let's see real quick. I'll give you that list of what's most important. Okay, number 3D, the top issues in order of importance according to the Barna Group. Healthcare, taxes, economy, and energy security. Those are the most important thing to voters right now. The least important, gay marriage, environmental policy, and abortion was at the bottom. They see the world very differently. We need to be ready to engage on that. 84% of those who call themselves Christian in this group have no idea how the Bible applies to their field or professional interests. They've heard the Word of God, they have no idea how it applies to their daily life. So, good to know. Let's not curse them for something that's not their fault. Let's talk about how we can get that information and educate and engage. So 1, I'm going to tell you 10 steps. Leslie asked for 10. Sounds like a good number to me. So, first, engaging honestly. All of us know when someone's really trying to get with us, to get something from us, not really to be with us. We need to make sure we are engaging with them honestly. Don't go in there and pretend that you care about one thing so that you can hurry up and rush to what you really want to talk about. Be honest with them about it. I would encourage you to go up to them just straight up. This is children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, neighbors, any one of them. Go up to them straight up and say, you know, I'm hearing a lot about what your generation believes on the news right now, and I just want to talk to you about it. Can we go out to dinner? I'll buy dinner. We'll go wherever you want, and I just want to hear what you have to say. Don't go in there and say, oh, how's your boyfriend? How's your girlfriends? Now, what are you going to vote this year? They know what you're really getting at, and you'll lose credibility with them if you pretend to care about other things when you're really focused on if they're going to vote your way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Treat them as honestly as you want to be treated. Don't play baloney with them. They're a pretty blunt group. They're pretty direct. All right. 2, watch your language. What you say versus what they hear. We get up and we say, Obama is the worst president ever in this country. He is destroying this country, and everyone that voted for him is ruining this country. You're telling them you voted for him and this is all your fault. What they hear versus what you say. Nobody wants to feel that way. Many of them are not going to vote for him this time around. They feel like they've made a mistake. There's no need to continue to humiliate. Fair enough? Watching your language, lose the mockery and the name calling. Scripture tells us that the ones who will be able to approach God, who will approach His holy hill, do not sit in the council of mockers. Now, if you listen to all the talk radio shows, if you watch the different pundits on television, both on the left and the right, they do a lot of mockery, a lot of making fun. That's not how the Lord engages with people. And I think we have to lose the mockery, we have to lose the name calling. It is really easy to slap labels on people. Liberal, gay, queer, gosh, what else? Communist, socialist. All of those words are instant turnoffs if you want to engage this generation. It's very easy because we, as people, we like to categorize so we know where everything is. This generation is not about labels. They don't like being labeled and they don't like labels being used. But definitely mockery and making fun will lose ground with them. If they listen to those people, if they believe in them, and the moment you start making fun of them, oh, he's such an idiot, oh, he thinks he's so great, well, he can't keep his own life together, da-da-da-da-da-da, they'll turn you off right away. They're done listening. So I want to encourage you, it's not the way of the Lord in the first place. I want to encourage everyone, let's purify our language. Let's ask that the words of our mouths and the meditations of our heart will be pleasing in the sight of the Lord. We can engage without the rage. Fair enough? Okay. Avoid sameness or all-inclusive language. This is a group that prides themselves on being individuals and being unique. This is part of our culture. My generation was raised up in the public schools being told, you're unique, you're a shining star, there's no one like you. And so if we use all-inclusive language like saying, well, those young people don't care, those young people won't engage, those young people, if we try to pretend that they're all in the same group, you will lose them. What they value is being unique and an individual, which, by the way, God values that too. He made each one of them with different gifts and abilities and passions and circumstances. And so to pretend because some of them voted that way, that they're all that way, we lose the ability to connect with them on the way they want to connect. Avoiding behaving as though your team or your side is infallible. I know when we get into campaigns and we get into candidates and the presidency, by golly, the Republicans are always right, or by golly, the Democrats are always right, and he's never made a mistake. No. You lose credibility because they don't think we're thinking critically. President George W. Bush did some really good things. He also had the largest expansion of the Department of Education in American history. He had the largest expansion of Medicare in American history. It's bigger. He expanded Medicare bigger than Obamacare does. We can love and respect and honor our leaders, but if we pretend that they're infallible or perfect, or our guy is always right and that other person's guy is always wrong, we lose our ability to connect. They want you to be realistic with them. They want you to admit, yeah, I voted wrong before, or I wish I had voted differently, or I wish I had studied this issue before. They want you to confess that you're just as human as they are. Yes? Okay, very still. 2D, avoiding don't you think statements and trying to shape their answers. I'm not a big fan of this. People coming to you and you're talking about an issue and they say to you, well, don't you think this is the better thing to do? Or don't you think he's got the right idea? Well, no, if I did, we would have agreed 30 minutes ago. Saying don't you think is implying you know better than them and you are shaping their answers. If you want to engage someone, if you want to truly help them shape and adjust their thinking, imposing yours through question demands, don't you think? No, I don't. That's a question, and you're demanding I think that way. I want to encourage you, try to lose that language. Ask more honestly, what do you think about this? Why do you think that? Don't you think is not the same statement. Do we agree? Does anyone else like being told, don't you think? Just checking. All right, 3, engage to learn. Learn for yourself, not just you coming down from the mountain to bestow all your wisdom on this young person, but really coming out of our own front door to be at their door to say, I want to learn from you. Why do you believe this way? How did you come to this conclusion? And treating their ability to make decisions as equally respectable as yours. They may not come to the same conclusion with the same information, but they still have made decisions. They've come to conclusions that they've even thought about it. We should be glad about. I've met a number of people when I talk to them about issues that will just say, stop. I don't want to hear anymore. It's not possible. I don't want to hear it. So if they're even willing to talk about it, you've come light years. So I want to encourage you, ask questions to increase your own understanding and allow them to share their own perspective. A big thing for this generation is ending the drug war or maybe legalizing marijuana. I realize that in here, some people in this room, their hair curls thinking about that. But ask them why. What experiences, what exposure, what understanding brought them to this? This generation is the most incarcerated generation in American history. More of them are in jail than ever before. The increase from 1980, a percentage of this age group being in jail, to now, that increase is 260%. And most of it is for selling, holding, or buying drugs, usually marijuana. We have put the stiffest penalties on this for a generation that's been completely raised in a drug culture where it's in every movie, it's in every song, it's a normal lifestyle for people. For them, this is normal. For us, it's been a drug war. And what they see as casualties are very different from what we've been told or we think are casualties. So ask to learn and understand, not just say, well, don't you think it's dumb to use drugs? Don't you think you're throwing your life away? No, ask why. You may be surprised. You may even change your mind. Caring a lot about what they believe will take you a long way with them. This is the generation that's under Facebook and Twitter. They can post literally nonstop what they think, what they believe, and what's happening with them. This is the most vocal, look at me generation we've ever had. They have the opportunity to be that way more than ever before. So it's valuable to them that people know what they think, what they're going through. So treat it as valuable. I promise you, it will take you miles down the road with these kids. They're not even kids so much anymore. My age, 32. I don't think I'm a kid. All right. Understanding liberal versus libertarian. This generation is far more libertarian than conservative or liberal. And those aren't necessarily the same thing. Now, for liberal, most of us have an understanding that means the government should be in charge of everything, and the government makes all the decisions from the top, and the government lets anything happen that is basically against Christian values. Is that kind of where we are on liberal? All right. Libertarian. Their understanding is more along the lines of, I don't agree with how you're living, but I'm not going to try to control you because I don't want you to try to control me. Make sense? Libertarian doesn't believe that you can, through laws, force other people to live the values you consider important. And it is force. By voting for these laws in this mindset, what you're saying is, I can't stop you from living the way you are just by convincing you. So, I'm going to have taxes taken out of your pocket and my pocket to pay another agency and enforcement group to force you to do what I couldn't convince you to do. And libertarians aren't really for that. This generation is far more libertarian. They are far more live and let live, mind your own business, I'll mind mine. I'm not going to try to force you to change, but you don't try force me to change. Do you see the difference in the two? Ask them where they are on this. Ask them, do you believe government can make someone do or be X, Y, Z? You'll get a quick answer and understanding of kind of where they are on this scale. It's a very different group.
Lela?
Yes?
Where do they stand on the mandate in the healthcare then? It would sound like they'd be against it because it would contradict their feelings about government.
Right. That's a tough one because this is a nearly 3,000-page bill that didn't just have the healthcare mandate,
right,
but also allowed their parents to put them on their health insurance till they're 26. Now, but it's smart. It's one of the smartest things Obama ever did. This generation has the highest unemployment rate it has had since World War II. They are the most unemployed, and the younger they are, almost half of them are unemployed. They can't find a job, so they don't have health insurance. And you've told their mommy and daddy, usually single moms actually, that you can put your child on your health insurance, your child who you're worried about because they can't find a job, they can't feed themselves right now. You can put them on your health insurance and you know they're going to get care. A lot of women and young people had a big sigh of relief on that. It was very smart. Now, they don't believe in being forced, but conservatives and Republicans are framing the debate all wrong. We're so busy arguing about the constitutionality of it that we're not connecting with the heart issues for people on this. Most people vote here. They don't vote here. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
They vote with what resonates with them, what they can identify with. And those young people right now can identify with, I don't know if I can even pay for a doctor. And so instead of turning it around and saying they will force you to use the doctors they want, they will limit the physicians and how they can give you care. Instead of talking about the realities of this being fully implemented, we're arguing about constitutionality. Since 90% of the population doesn't even know the Constitution, we're really using the wrong argument. We've framed it all wrong. So they're happy to have health insurance, but being forced to do things, they don't see that yet because we haven't really discussed it. Does that make sense, David?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, so they care about different social issues. You know, probably many in this group would take very seriously the drug war, and that's a serious problem. That isn't nearly the problem to this generation as child trafficking is. And they're having to pick. I mean, we're telling them we have a $16 trillion debt in this country. We have no money. We're broke. There's nothing left. But we're still going to spend $1 trillion on the drug war. And this generation is saying, are you kidding me? The people in my class, the people I know, the people down the street are being kidnapped to be used as sex slaves all over the world. And you want to tell me that stopping someone from smoking weed is more important than that? I don't think so. That's where they are. Okay? These kids are hearing stories, and I heard this, and I'll try not to cry talking about it. I heard a woman who's a pastor, she started a ministry to these young children in Thailand and these other nations where it's very easy to buy children for sex. And her ministry rescued a 2-month-old child from 3 American businessmen in Thailand. So this is where their heart is. We've been telling them for the longest time the drug war is the biggest problem, and they're hearing, why do I care about someone smoking pot? Why are you putting someone in jail for smoking pot when the second fastest growing crime in America is child pornography? Okay? Child pornography has increased 10-fold every year that the internet has been open. So I encourage you, don't be discouraged if they're not focusing on the same social issues as you. There are other issues that are important to them that most people just we're not quite on the same page yet. Does that make sense? This generation, every year there's a Christian rock concert and prayer and worship weekend out in Georgia. And they challenged the young people who were coming to this. They said, we'd like to raise $1 million to fight human trafficking. Those kids showed up, and in a 3-day weekend, they donated $3 million. They care very much about other people. They are not the selfish generation that the media is trying to encourage us to think. We need to speak against that in Jesus' name. That is the devil trying to curse this generation. I get a little fired up. So be open to adjusting your own thinking. on what may be most important and encourage them to fight the fights that they believe are important. You know, they may not care about the drug war or gay marriage in the same way, but by golly, I'll cheer on every one of them that wants to fight child trafficking. You hear what I'm saying? And support them in the causes they do care about. That will strongly encourage them to engage. All right, so the top issues we've already talked about. On the other side, pick your battles. Use patience. You are not, between now and May 29th, going to get every one of them to register to vote, vote the right way, and turn out all their friends. So pick your battles. Find, I want to encourage you right now, if you can even, write down 5 young people that you know that you can engage with. Children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, neighbors, cousins, whoever. And just start talking to them about this. Say, hey, are you registered to vote? And don't feel like in your first conversation with them, you're going to get all this stuff ironed out. But get started. Pick your battles. Are they even registered? Start there. If they're registered, are they registered in the right district with all the redistricting mess? And if they're registered in the right district, are they even going to vote? Take one step at a time, but pick your battles. Don't feel like in less than a month or even in the next 6 months, you are going to radically transform them to think the way and vote the way they should. Pick your battles. You've all had kids, most of you. You kind of know. Some days you go to battle and some days you think, oof, peace, I've got the white flag. So be ready for that. I have a wonderful friend, Barbara, she's right back there. She's probably going to be embarrassed I pointed her out. She was wearing a t-shirt yesterday for a candidate she supported, and there was a 19-year-old behind the counter at CVS, and he said, I really like your t-shirt. And she said, oh, you do? Are you registered to vote? And he said, no, I'm not. She said, I'll be right back. Barbara went down to the elections office, picked up a voter registration card, and took it back to that boy in 30 minutes or less. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now, how many of you think that boy felt real valued at that moment? How many adults would say to him, oh, I'll bring you a card and never come back, get too busy? How many of us, if he told us he was having a bad day, would say, oh, I'll pray for you and never do it? Show them they're valuable. Engage right away. Show them how committed you are to them, but pick your battles. Try not to change in every way in the first encounter. 5, show grace and mercy for past mistakes in thinking and action. If they voted for Obama in 2008, love them anyway. Show grace and mercy for it. I know a number of them who are sorry that they did, but they don't want to say anything about it because they feel like they're just going to get beat over the head, that it was a dumb mistake. Look how it's ruined the country. Look what you've done. Grace and mercy. We need it too. They are looking for someone to relate to just like we are. Let's look at President Obama in comparison to this generation for 1 minute. This generation is really the first one to fully grow up under divorce, a drug culture, open homosexuality in everything, pretty socialist school system from kindergarten all the way through graduating college. And here comes a guy who is mixed race like many of them, a product of divorce, who had to be raised by his grandparents, which happens to a lot of this generation, who struggled with not having money, who struggled with his anger about the situation and not being able to change it, who got up and said, I have hope, I know we can change this. They can really relate to all the things he went through. And they knew he could relate to what they were going through. Just like all of us are hoping we'll get a presidential candidate we can relate to. I'd like to be able to relate to their faith, that'd be a good start. But that's what we're looking for. We want one that we know is going to vote the way we believe and will be able to relate to what we're doing and what we're going through. So show some grace and mercy for that. It's the Republican Party's fault if we don't put people like that out front in the first place. With the right values, but that can actually relate to what they're going through. Sue. Engage in love, not anger and fear. This generation has the highest suicide rate that they've ever had. There's a lot of hopelessness out there. My heart breaks whenever I hear Christians get frustrated and just say, I wish Jesus would just come back. Which is like saying, to heaven with me and to hell with all of you. That sounds harsh, but it's true. Because what are we saying? We're saying we believe that Jesus is going to come back for the believers. He's going to rapture the church and we won't have to be here for all the bad stuff. So if you don't believe like I do, well, to hell with you. How can we say that Jesus is the light and the hope of the world, and then because we don't get the president we want, it's all over, doomsday, the end? We're not communicating the right message to them. Either Jesus is the hope of the world or the next presidential candidate is. Pick one. But if you say you're a Christian, you say you're a believer, then be ready to believe and act like, regardless of who is elected, Jesus Christ is still the king and the government is on his shoulders. It is not on the shoulders of Democrats or Republicans. It is on his shoulders. Yes. So I love you all, and I say this, but I hear it way too much. Act like it. If he is in charge, act like it. Act like it. We've got a president up there right now who wants to fundamentally transform America. By golly, I know the king of the universe who can fundamentally transform this country. Which one do we believe has more power? Then act like it. Every day on the news, we hear from the environmental movement how mankind is destroying the planet. It's all our fault. We hear about nuclear war. Oh, Iran's going to blow us all up. Israel's going to blow up Iran. Oh, they should just blow each other up. This is what this young people generation hears all the time. Can you imagine why they feel hopeless right now? And then if we want to go to war, guess who gets drafted? They're the ones that will have to go. They're the ones that will probably die in the engagement, not the ones who will vote to send them there. This is what they face. And I'm not trying to tell you doom and gloom. I'm telling you this is what they have to face. This is what they listen to every day. In our military right now, we have more people in our military committing suicide than dying in combat. That's how rough it is. So, for this generation, this is what they face. So when people ask me all the time, why does your generation get all its news from the Daily Show? I tell them, because if you couldn't laugh at it, you probably want to kill yourself. And that's what he does. He helps them laugh about it. And anger is exhausting. The flame of anger consumes, but the flame of liberty illuminates. Are you more energized by the idea of returning freedom to its rightful place in this country? Or are you more energized by being angry because it's not the way it used to be? I got to tell you right now, anger will burn everybody. They won't want to be around it. It'll wear them out. It'll burn you up. Focus on the freedom part, and that will engage them. They hear enough of the gloom and the doom and the anger. Focus on the freedom part. Remind them it is for freedom that Christ set us free, so do not become enslaved to another system. So focus on freedom. Try not to focus on anger. It's easy to be angry, but I encourage you, focus on the freedom. 7, show their value. They are way more important than just voting the way you want them to vote. Communist and socialist movements don't care about humans. They don't care about human life. They don't care how many die. They call them useless idiots. That's how they really feel about human beings. Let's show them their value, that they were so valuable. Christ died for them so he could be in a relationship with them forever. Let's treat them with that attitude instead of, well, if you don't vote my way, then you're not worth my time and energy. Big distinction. Also, remember that Jesus Christ is more important than the president. I think I covered that a minute ago. Put them out front. If they are willing to participate and help, then by golly, give them recognition. Say, you know, thanks to Jamie for signing everyone in today. Yay, Jamie! You know, Jamie may be 16 years old, but give that person recognition for any work that they've done, showing that it's just as valuable as what the grown-ups or the other people in charge are doing. They're far more likely to stay engaged. How many of us get worn out by doing all the work at the church or in the community group? And what is it, the 80-20 rule? 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people, but most of us couldn't even name the 20%. Let's shift that attitude and towards them. Let's recognize them for the work they've done. Thank them for it. Work on showing the impact on them. For example, this group is disproportionately plagued by lack of job opportunities. This is not a recovery. They care deeply about the economy. But when we talk about the national debt, that just sounds like an impossible number out in the ether. We have no, we $16 trillion national debt. If you stacked it in $100 bills to the moon and back, it would take 6 times. That's not real for them right now. But what's very real is I can't find a job, so I'm not getting married, I'm not buying a house, and I'm not having children. That's very real. So talk about what the impact on their regular everyday life is right now. They don't have time to think about how bad it's going to be in 10 years. It's pretty crummy for them right now. Good? We can see the long distance on the national debt or the global war on terror. That's not what's impacting them the most right now. So try to figure out what is impacting them, what is most important very quickly, and work on it, discussing it with them. Reward their participation. Tell them, thank you, I'm proud of you, you're making a difference. If you can, try to post a picture on Facebook and Twitter of my grandson and I just went and voted and here we are, click at the voting booth. If you don't know how to do it, ask them to do it for you. Seriously, let them be the authority on something. We all know they are the authority on these cell phones right now. Ask them to do it. Say, you know, James, I want to go vote. Come with me. I know you can't vote right now, but if you'll come with me, we'll go to Sonic and have a Route 44, whatever sugar shock you want. And after you vote, say, James, take a picture of us together here at the voting booth. Yay, me and my grandson just voted, and he taught me how to do Twitter. Something, but let them engage in the ways that they like to engage. They love Twitter and Facebook. Use it, and let them show you how to use it. But engage the way they like to engage. Give them a gift. Take them out to eat. I don't know, you call your niece and she says, I'm too busy to vote. Sarah, if you will vote, I will send you a $10 gas card to cover the gas. I know you got a lot going on right now. Or, come on, I'll take you out to eat afterwards. Or pay for their participation in programs, camps, activities. You know, most of these Republican women's luncheons, or any number of these clubs, it's anywhere from, I've paid anywhere from $15 to $50 to attend one meeting and eat rubber chicken. They can't afford that right now, so pay for it for them. You know? Say, I want you to come along and I'll buy your meal there, or I'll buy the raffle ticket that they sell there, whatever, but come along. Make it easier for them to participate. If you, in your programs, a lot of these groups offer door prizes. I say this in a loving way. I've been to more than one where they meet at a very nice location and their door prize is a designer handbag. That's great. It won't feed me. So find door prizes that are helpful to them right now. Gift cards to restaurants, gift cards to clothing stores like Ross or Macy's or Dillard's or something like that. Gift cards to gas cards. What else do I have on there? A grocery store, you know, gift card to Walmart, gift card to Randall's, any of those places that when they win, it seriously benefits them. The handbag's going to look great on eBay. You know? So give them something that's really going to make a difference in their day. Make it easy to participate. First of all, start taking them to the polls at birth. If your children or grandchildren or anybody related to you or nearby is alive, take them with you the day you're voting, and then encourage the rest of the family to do the same. Tracy's got 7 kids. Lord help me, I don't know how she does that. I have one and he runs me out. Her husband can take 2 of the kids when he votes. She can take 2 of the other kids when they vote. And then someone else they love and trust can take 2 of the other kids when they vote. Or if you have only one child like me, by golly, my husband should take him, and then I'll take him, and then when Meemaw votes, we'll take him again. If we think this is important, act like it. If we think it's important that they be involved in the process, act like it. Take them. Cross the highway, cross the state, whatever. If it's important, do it. Don't complain that they're not involved, but then you say you're too busy to drive across 635 to take them with you to the ballot box. Fair enough? Maybe. It's getting real still in here. I don't know. Offer babysitters at your programs, or offer to be one. Most of them have young children. They can't afford a babysitter or they can't find one. So don't be mad if they don't come, but there's no one to watch the kids. Surely we can find an entrepreneurial college student who will turn on VeggieTales and play with blocks while 2 or 3 or 4 little kids are in the room for an hour to 2 hours. We can do it. hold meetings at times that they can actually attend. Almost every one of the political meetings I go to is during breakfast or lunch. They can't leave for 2 hours. The meeting is 2 hours and it takes 30 minutes to get there and 30 minutes back. They're just trying to keep their job. If we want to do this, we need to have them on nights and weekends. We need to make it easy for them to participate. And 2 hours can be really long. So they need to know, all right, this is a 2-hour program, but the first 30 minutes everybody's drinking coffee, and the last 30 minutes everybody's whatever. Here's the exact time that the meeting, actual meet is going to happen. Tell them, make it easy for them to participate. Offer free programs or reduce the pricing for their generation. Tell them, if you're under 40, then you get to eat for free, or you're under 30 or whatever. But try to make it more affordable to participate, or make it free all out. And then do double duty in a meeting. Don't just make them sit there and listen to whoever the speaker is. Try to make it over a meal. Try to offer Wi-Fi so that they can still check their email. But try to make it to where they can do multiple things in one meeting, and you'll increase participation. All right, finally. This economy has caused 1 in 4, so 25% of young people to delay marriage because they feel like they don't have the money. Many of them just go ahead and live together because we have made it, sadly, in our society more important to spend $10,000 to $20,000 on an event than it is to actually be married in front of God. So I can't tell you how many I've met that say they're Christians, that are living together, that have been living together for a year or two because they don't have the money to get married. Now, when I got married, it was $35 for a marriage certificate. Now, if they don't have 35 bucks, somebody needs to call their parents and say, why aren't you making sure these kids get married? But we've made it more important that you have the big production with all the family, all the food, yada, 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 yada. So, 25% are delaying marriage because of money. 30% delay starting a family, and that is impacting us dramatically. These children that we thought would be born to pay into Social Security and Medicare literally aren't being born. They're either not being conceived, or many of them are being aborted. Because money and being able to pay for a child is more important than the soul of the child or God's plan for the family. 46% are delaying buying a house. Our housing market stinks right now, but it's a really messy situation. It's all the federal government's fault. I feel pretty strongly about that. This group is getting married roughly 6 years later than the baby boomers did. So the boomers were getting married at 22, 23, 24. This group is getting married at 30. Dramatic difference in how many children they'll have, how long they'll be married, how effective their marriage will be. They're having their first child much later in life. I had my son when I was 31. When my mom was 31, she had an 11-year-old, a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 7-year-old. Dramatic difference in our generation. Because I was expected by family, friends, everybody to go to college, get a degree first, and start a job before I thought about getting married. And then while I was married, I delayed because I first wanted to, be married to him. He was really cute. He's still really cute. So I wanted a couple of years of that. Well, then I started grad school. Well, we didn't want to have a baby in the middle of grad school, so that took 2.5 years. And then in the middle of me being in grad school, my husband's grandmother had her stroke, and we went to be her caregivers. And we were told that she had about a year, so we thought, well, we'll wait to have a baby so we don't add any confusion to her life. Well, we've done it for 6 years now. So at some point we had to say, well, I'm not getting any younger, and she's not going anywhere, so... So we decided to go ahead and try and get pregnant, and it must have been God's idea because it took one shot. We're waiting a lot longer, so we're going to have far fewer children if we have any at all. That dramatically shifts the dynamic, the economy, the finances of this country. We are 8 times more likely than those of the 1960s to come from parents who were never married. I'm blessed. My parents have been married 33 years. I'm one of the few. I can think of 2 or 3 other friends that their parents have been married their entire lives. Yet, despite all this, that sounds discouraging and gloom and doom, 70% of them still believe in the American dream. They still believe that if you try hard, you do right, and you play fair, that you'll succeed in this country. This is a group that looks at all of this junk, all of this intimidation, and says, bring it on. I think this generation has the opportunity to be a new greatest generation. They are facing a debt we have never understood in this country. They are facing a global war on terror that we've never experienced in this country. They are facing truly traumatic possibilities. They are going to take care of the largest senior population in the history of the country, on the largest debt in the history of the country. Nobody's talking to them about it, and they are still optimistic. They still have a very high volunteerism rate. They are highly engaged in public service and community service and in different groups that are important to them. This is a great group. And if we can truly engage them on biblical values and why they matter and why it's important to world history and to their own personal life, if we can do it, by golly, they'll be a force to be reckoned with. This is a generation that's been more under attack by Satan than any other generation before. 1 in 3 of this generation has been aborted. That's how big it is. Most of them come from families that the parents never got married. Most of them grew up and never went to church. There's never been a generation so attacked by Satan. But you know what's awesome? Is God makes it very plain. If they curse you, I'm going to bless you. So I want to encourage you, before you try to make sure they vote the right way, make sure that they know who the real king of this world is. Because once they know him, this is a generation that once they get on fire, there's nothing stopping them. They will plow through, they will make it happen, they will get it done. And you can be a part of that. So, I've had many people say, oh, when I get to heaven, I'm going to ask God, why didn't you do anything about this? Why didn't you do anything about that? Here's what I think. I think he's going to look us in the eye and say, who did I leave in charge? He left us. So either we can complain about what's not happening with this generation, or it's not happening the way we want, or we can take a stand for every one of these young people. And remember, if they're this attacked, Satan knows something about them that we don't. I think God's ready to use them, and I think he's ready to use you to get to them. Thank you very much.